Welcome to the video, YouTube. Thanks for joining me today. We have a guest on the channel, Mitchell. He is a student of the Elite Academy. He's been kind enough to come onto the channel for you guys to share his experience. Mitchell started this process with no e-commerce experience. I spoke to him back in April in lockdown. He's launched his product in lockdown and he is generating £14,000 a month from his first 3 products that he's launched on Amazon. He even shares with you in this video what the product is, right? Which is a first for any YouTube video because he wants to really break down the methodology behind why he selected it and some of the techniques he used to make sure that that product was a success, and hopefully you guys can do the same thing. We talk about his PPC spend, his profit margins, and his overall investment. It's a good one, guys. Please like the video, comment below if I missed anything you want to ask Mitchell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Hi Dylan, hi everyone, I'm Mitch. I joined Dylan's course in April this year, and I've now been selling on Amazon for about 5 weeks.
Fantastic. Well, Mitch, thanks again for coming onto the channel. This is actually the second recording, guys. We had a little technical glitch with the first one, so we're back with a take 2. But thanks for coming on the channel, Mitch. So as you said, you joined the course in lockdown. Just a quick touch on that. Talk me through that process. How did you stumble across Amazon FBA myself, and what pushed you over the line?
Yeah, so I saw a YouTube ad for Amazon FBA. I don't normally click on ads. I normally skip them. I've heard of drop shipping before, and we spoke before about see a lot of these sort of Forex and get rich quick ads on YouTube, and I just thought Amazon FBA was a bit of a scam. I then watched the advert, and I started looking into FBA, researching the model. And I was obviously looking for me being based in the UK. I was looking for a UK sort of course or a UK YouTuber that was doing it, and I found yourself, Dylan. And then, like I said, we had a conversation back in April over Skype, and I was just essentially asking Dylan or yourself essentially where can I lose my money? What's the risk? Where's the catch? And I was asking you a lot of questions like, is FBA dead? Where is it too saturated? Ultimately I signed up for the course, and here I am today.
Fantastic. And we touched on that, Mitch, before the call yesterday. There's this perception that any sort of online, and again, I hate the term get rich quick scheme because Amazon isn't a get rich quick scheme at all, but there's this, with all these Forex traders and basically all this BS that's out there, and these ads that you see people driving around in Lamborghinis and saying that they used to work as a waiter a week ago, and now a week later they're making £10,000 a month from Forex or whatever. It puts other legitimate industries and niches like Amazon FBA in a bad light, I think. So, guys, we're going to jump into a few topics, right? But just to give you a very, very brief summary, Mitch joined the course in the middle of lockdown. He's launched 3 products on Amazon. He's doing, and Mitch, I don't know if you've got your phone with you there, if we put that, we'll go right the way in and then out. There we are. So keep going out a little bit more. So about £9,000 a month on Amazon UK.
Yeah, and then I'm also in the US, so let me just bring that up. It's my US sales. Bring that one in. This is my US account where I have 1 product.
Yeah, picking that up there. Perfect. Yeah. There we are. Fantastic. So two accounts, 3 products launched over those 2 marketplaces. Let's jump into one of the first topics then. What did you explain how you discovered FBA? What did you expect?
So like I say, I'm a bit of a pessimist. So I didn't think I was going to get rich quick. I didn't for 1 minute have any real high expectations of the venture, but I spoke to my wife about it, who is in this with me. We both do this together, and she we discussed it, and we were working through our sort of margins on our products and before we ordered, and we were saying, worst case, if we make 200, 300 pounds a month supplemental income, that's not that we would ever rely on that money for like a car or anything in case it went away, but it's just nice extra income. Let's go for it. And like I said, we did lowball, and like I said, we really set our expectations low just so we wouldn't be estimated our costs. We underestimated our sales, and we really just kind of looked at it at worst case, and we still estimated that we'll make good money out of the venture. And it 5 weeks in, it's going really well.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that's a good way to look at it. Not having super high expectations at the beginning. Don't go into it thinking that your first product is gonna bring in 10K a month, and go in with realistic expectations like you did, and then it's much easier to exceed those expectations then and not be disappointed. And I agree that's a sensible way of doing it. So when you started, talk us through the process of when you were working through the course, and then you contacted suppliers. How did that all fit together? The process. A lot of people ask me, Dill, I've joined, but what do I do? What do I do now? I'm just sitting here blank on day one. I've enrolled. How did it all come together?
So when I joined, and I think most people will get this when they enroll on the course or when they start looking into FBA, you have a real fire in your belly. You're bought into the concept, you've bought into the idea, you've seen the returns. I mean, my returns here, I'm trying not to get too carried away, and I want to grow this further. But essentially, you've got a fire in your belly, and you really just want to crack on and get started. So there's no harm in starting research early, as early as you like. I found lots of different ways of researching, and you go into these on your channel. There's lots of different research methods and ways to find niches and look on Alibaba and find suppliers and all that that was the exciting bit for me, was all of the product research. But while working through the course, I was constantly doing product research as well. And that's what took me the most time, was to finally decide and pull the trigger on certain products and actually place those orders. But I think the worst thing you can do is not make that purchase and not go for it. Not pull the trigger and not commit would be a bit of advice. Just go for it.
Yeah, I think that analysis paralysis stage, I think, touching on what you just mentioned, people are looking for a perfect product, right? They're looking for a perfect product, and perfect products don't always exist. And if you spend your whole time looking for that particular type of product, you could be talking years until this product that is absolutely fine-tuned on every point that you can imagine. It's going to make you £30,000 a month, and these products exist, right? I've got students who interviewed on the channel. Suki launched a product doing like 30K a month from one product after 1 month, right? But if he did that process again, went through it again, and only acted on a product that fitted that that characterization, it's going to take him so long, and you end up going round in circles. And it's better to look at spotting an opportunity, adding value. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can still make tons of improvements on products and have a sustainable income from it without it taking you years to find that product. So good advice there. How did you make the final decision? What was other than the fact that you didn't want to go round in circles, what made you go for your product? And we're going to talk a bit about Mitch's product actually specifically later on in the video, guys.
I think my search volume was reasonable. So the search term for the product I wanted to make or launch was reasonable. But I found that no other product was fulfilling the real search term, which was essentially a craft kit for beginners. So we used the analogy of, we used the example of cross stitch yesterday when we did this recording the first time around. So, for example, if it's beginner cross stitch kit, you would have obviously all the raw materials in the kit to perform or make the the item. What I did was to really differentiate is add instructions. So throughout lockdown, me and my wife were made our own 16-page booklet with how to do the craft, all that effort into differentiate. And if somebody's looking at the page on Amazon now, they'll see kits where they don't have instructions, and only one, which is ours, where it actually gives you the step-by-step guide on what to do. And we also noticed a lot of the other crafts or the other kits were bought, frequently purchased with a separate book. So we just thought we're going to have to write our own here to really differentiate. And that means that it's very difficult for anyone to copy us. I didn't just want to lift something from Alibaba and just slap a brand on it, because I find that that's easily repeatable, because there'll be other people looking to just copy the product. So I like to add some value and differentiate, and that's what I found in this product.
Yeah, we focus a lot on that in the course, don't we? Adding value, differentiating, trying to spot an opportunity to improve what's there. And I suppose you brought all of that together. You spotted that opportunity, and it's something that I try to emphasize a lot within the course. And we've got modules that focus specifically on it for students. We don't want to launch something generic that's just a knockoff version of what's already on there, because it isn't going to get you the sales that you need. So it's really important to focus on that differentiation. So with regard to the process then, Mitch, from when you started the course to launching your product, did you have any difficulties during that process that maybe other people will encounter that you overcame? Any advice there?
Yeah, so I think don't fall in love too much with an idea or a product, because I think I thought I was onto a winner with a couple of them, and just some of the metrics weren't right. It was almost like the final few things where you really do your sums on the product and the shipping tiers, and you get your quotes, and you just realise that it's not quite right. I went through that a couple of times and had to discount products, which was kind of disheartening. And then I had a similar experience with the product that I now have. One of my products that I've now launched with sampling. So I had multiple samples sent over from China for. I think I ended up going through 3 or 4 samples. They're not cheap to get here with express shipping. You have to pay, sometimes between $30 and up to $100, depending on the size, $30 and $100 to just to get a sample over here. So it was disheartening getting the samples, whether they look great in Alibaba and they're telling you that it's they tell you what you want to hear sometimes. So I got the samples through, and I literally we were sat on the front in the summer, and the FedEx pulled up and gave me the box with the samples, and I literally opened it and just put them straight in the bin.
Really?
I was just like, not good enough. Just not what I thought they were going to be. Back to Alibaba, spoke to more suppliers, and I finally got what I wanted. But yeah, that's 2 things really. Is I wouldn't fall in love too much with a single product. You might be a great idea, but then the search volume might not be great, or it might be great search volume, but then there's no profit or margin in it, or you can't find the right product to fulfill the niche. Just as there's a couple of those where I was literally thinking, this is it, this is great, and you just have to let things go sometimes, else you can go too far in and start ordering things that are not right.
Yeah, and
the second one is just don't give up if you've with sampling. So just try and get really good photographs before you get samples. Get them to really commit to, yes, it's if they say something is waterproof, for example, rather than just taking their word for it, just say, look, have you got any certificate, or is there any video you can show me of that? Or because you might get your sample through, put it in water, it just falls to pieces,
Yeah, I suppose that's extremely good points to touch on there, Mitch, and to summarize those people. So data-driven decisions, right? We make data-driven decisions based on search volume for the keywords, revenue, working out our margins. we can't purely base an idea just from your passion for it. You've got to make data-driven decisions behind it. Yes, passion is good. Like, we want to be passionate about the products, but that can't be the only thing that almost can override everything else, and you end up with a failed product. And like you said, people get disheartened when samples come and they're not good. If you haven't got, traits like if you're not consistent, consistency is key. Persevering when things go wrong. Like you said, if you'd have got that sample and thought, you know what, I'm giving up, chuck it in the bin, and you never carried on with that idea, we wouldn't be here talking now. So those qualities, guys, are huge. And I don't know if you agree with me here, Mitch. So sampling, right? Have you heard of in the past, sometimes the sample quality is better than the actual bulk order quality? Have you ever encountered that yourself, or heard of that problem?
No, I haven't.
Mitch was saying when sampling was an important part of his process. I always like to have and conduct an Alibaba inspection, or have an external body come in and check the products before they're shipped. Get lots of pictures of them. Make sure the supplier is aware that you are anticipating the bulk order of products to be the same standard of quality as the sample, because sometimes they'll send you a higher quality sample and then they'll cut corners and they'll manufacture at a cheaper standard, and you get let down. And there's ways of avoiding that. So really, really good point to mention there. And so moving to the launch stage, Mitch, talk us through that.
So I was really eager to set up my PPC campaigns. So I watched like your videos on PPC. I watched lots of other tips and tricks. I used Cerebro on Helium 10. I used Magnet, and I was getting my competitors' listings and getting their ASINs and putting them into into Cerebro, and then it would come up with what they're ranking for, and I would take those words, and I was really sort of spending a lot of time on my PPC. One mistake I made was actually when my products landed got into Amazon. I'd launched my PPC campaign as soon as it hit the warehouse, basically. But what happens is the stock tends to trickle into stock, so they do the fulfillment center transfers. So here in the UK, for example, my orders always seem to go to Coventry, and then from there they'll split them out amongst all of their other fulfillment centres. So I was paying for PPC for clicks, and as one would come into stock, it would I'd be paying for clicks, and there just wasn't enough stock to fulfil the click volume, so it ended up costing me money. In hindsight, what I would do, or what I do now, is to wait for the fulfillment center transfer to settle down, and I've got a good number in stock, and then start my PPC, because you've then got the volume to be able to sell. Whereas what was happening was one or two were coming available and selling to back out of stock. 2 or 3 more were available the next day or within a few hours, and they were selling. So I was kind of just going in and out of stock constantly.
You weren't able to get the momentum that you needed during that launch phase.
Yeah. So in hindsight, you wait for the FC transfer to finish. Can take usually here in the UK it takes me about from them leaving my house or even arriving in Amazon, it's probably 2 or 3 days for Amazon to receive and then distribute the product.
Really good. The tip that you gave there, guys, and I'd write this down because it's something that I promote a lot. It's a good technique. You mentioned you use Cerebro, so reverse ASIN tool with Helium 10, guys. So if you haven't tried Helium 10, you can have it try it for free for, I don't know how, you get a certain amount of time or uses on it. So go and check it out. I've got links below for Helium 10. But you mentioned reverse ASIN your main competitors to find out what their keywords were. So what would you do with those keywords then with PPC? How would that tie into PPC?
So I would find the sort of top 10 items that I'm competing with and within my search terms, and I would run them all through Cerebro, and I'd find the top 10. I'd find the top 10 keywords that they were all organically listing for, not that they were paying for sponsored listings for, that they were organically listing for, which means that they're selling well and they've got to the top organically.
Yeah.
and then I just consolidated them in a spreadsheet. So I ended up with maybe too many keywords, probably ended up with sort of 40 or so. Some of them are like misspellings of words. Ultimately, a lot of them are duplicates as well. So I whittled it down to maybe 20 or 30 keywords, and I loaded them into my broad and phrase PPC campaigns to target those keywords. What I've now done over time is, because now my PPC has been running for 5 weeks, I'm able to evaluate the campaign and just see which are the most efficient keywords and which keywords are actually getting me sales. And then I can take out the ones that are actually being clicked and that are not generating sales, so that where the ACOS is really high or they just haven't generated any sales. I just take them out.
Yeah, and
so I just end up with a really streamlined, efficient PPC campaign.
Yeah, and that's the right way to do it. And when Mitch was mentioning there, guys, about the Cerebro, so you only wanted to see keywords that product was ranking for in the top 10. There's a little filter. So if you guys are familiar with Cerebro, if you expand the filter section, there's a little filter, and you can only see the maximum. You only see keywords that product is ranking for organically up to a maximum of 10. So Mitch is basically only wanting the keywords that they're doing well from. He doesn't want to see where they're ranking, 200th on page 50. So that's the right way to do it. That's spot on. And how has PPC been going? You mentioned, and you can tie this in with your profit margins. We know it's at the beginning in the launch phase. Profit margins are smaller. They open up and broaden as time goes on. So talk us through your margin and how your PPC ties in.
Yeah. So my margin initially in the US was tighter than the UK. So in the first few weeks with PPC costs, my profit margin was only somewhere around 11%.
Yeah.
Over time, as I started to rank organically and I started to sort of hone and tune my PPC, I got it to sort of 20%, and I'm still working on that now. I've had my sort of second and third shipment into the US now, so I think I need to check, but I'm hopefully now around 25% in the US, which I think I was at now. I think it was $6,800. So I mean, it's still a healthy profit, a healthy amount of profit. I mean, 25. I know people mention 30, 40, 50%, but I mean, as long as I'm getting the sales and sell through, I'm happy with 25 to 30% of $7,000 each month, and then same in the UK, really.
Yeah.
Over time, I'm starting to, as I rank and I get reviews, I'm creeping my price up by maybe £1 every few weeks. It doesn't seem to be slowing my sales momentum at all. I think since I launched my 3 products, 2 of them have gone up by £3 to £4 or dollars each, and they're now around the price where I want them to be. The other one, I think I launched it at just the right price because of what the competitors are doing, and that'll probably stay the same price. But as for margins, I would like to get all of my products to 30% or above over the next few months.
Yeah, and would you say, factoring in that you're beginning to organically rank, which is the goal, after the first 4, 5, 6 weeks, 30% is your target, and that's what you calculated anyway? Was it you're predicting it to go to 30?
Yeah. So essentially, PPC cost is a bit of an unknown. It's something I factored in. Initially, I factored in sort of a cost per item for PPC into my margins.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to figure out, finger in the air, I think I will spend. If I have a 30% ACOS, I'll make it. I didn't focus on that. What I did was I just added, I think it was £1.50 to every item, to say, look, it costs X. My landed cost with shipping, add shipping on. Add £1.50 PPC on. So I added it all into the cost of the item, really, just so I knew that I still had margin there. And obviously it isn't £1.50 per item, but yeah, it's going great from using that formula, really. But yeah, PPC, I don't know if you've got any ways to forecast it, Dylan, but I think it's a difficult one to know exactly what you're going to spend, because it depends on number of keywords, number of clicks. I mean,
the ACOS can be anywhere from 70-80% right down to 10. It really varies. Just depends on who's clicking what.
Yeah, anyone who says that there's an exact science to predicting what you're going to spend on PPC is not telling the truth, really, because we have to make realistic forecasts of what we think we're going to spend and anticipate based on exactly the rule that you mentioned there, having sort of a fixed amount for each product that you factor into your margin. So you're going to have lower margins when you start, because PPC is going to eat into them, and PPC isn't just, and if you agree with me here, it's not just something that you use when you launch, right? It's just that when you launch, that's when PPC is most effective for rankings, when you initially drive that ranking really, really quickly, but it's not when it's most optimal. So at launch stage, we call it mining for keywords a lot of the time, especially if you've got automatic campaigns. We're trying to find out what works. We're going to be spending money on what doesn't, and that's why it can be inefficient. But then, as Mitch was saying, we begin to create manual campaigns and different types of PPC campaigns, which we won't get into now, but we get rid of those keywords that aren't doing very well, and we focus on the ones that do. And then you can start to really work out what your margin is. And like you said, 30%. So if you're doing about 14,000 per month, what's that? About £4,000 profit, roughly, give or take. 13,500 a month, about 4K at this stage. Yeah. So if you look at that investment, so you invested, and we'll talk about this. This is a good point, because Mitch launched 3 products, right? But per product, what did you invest roughly?
So total investment in the business, and this is across setting up the company, barcodes, everything, which is shared across them. But essentially, I've put in between around £8,000 to £9,000, so that's around 3K per product.
Around 3K per product, right? So essentially, on that model, then, right? Because that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. And we've got to factor in that's 3 products, guys. So 3K for 1 product. So if you're profiting now after 5 weeks, 4K. And we're not going to look at, it's not, we've talked about it. It's not just money that you can take out of the business. There's things you have to consider, but 4K a month. So after 2 months, you've got almost 100% return on investment on that initial investment, and you've got a business that's making you 4K a month.
Yeah,
which is nuts.
And I say, yeah, and
that's nuts.
I am pleased. I am pleased. We're not forecast. We don't want to draw down anything until this is making a lot more. I want to keep buying. I want to launch product 4, 5, 6. And then ultimately, in a day in the future, we will start to draw down from it. But right now, it's just, it's not real money to me yet, because it's tied up in the company.
And it's a good way to look at it, right? Because if you were looking for quick cash now, downsides, right? If you're pulling out all of this profit, then, you might not be able to place your next order. You might not be able to place an order for enough units to satisfy demand. You can't launch more products. So you're really capping your potential. And people who, if you got carried away now and thought, oh my God, 4K in the first month, straight out of the bank, spent it, then sales might slow down a little bit, right? And you think, oh my God, I need to place my order now before I've actually sold all of my units. I haven't got the cash to do it. And you can get yourself into difficult situations, which is why, I'm a true believer of, yes, this is a long-term project. We want to be taking money out of it. But at the beginning, focus on growth and scaling and being sensible. Money will come. Yeah. Money will come. And like you said, if you were to continue at this rate, what you mentioned moving forward, you wanted to was it subsidize your partner's income, about £1,500 or something, was it?
Yeah. So my wife's a teacher now and she works part-time. I think ultimately the goal would be to be able to replace her income, but we wouldn't do it until there was enough money being generated each month to cover that salary plus another maybe 3 or 4 times, because I wouldn't want to rely on my family's income to be exactly what we were generating in profit each month in case we had poor periods or ultimately we want to be paying a wage out and making money at the same time, or building equity in the business. But yeah, the long-term goal I think would be to replace my wife or pay my wife a salary, to replace her work, and then still be building equity on the side for, every year if we were to take a dividend, family holidays, things around the house, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I fully believe that if I worked at this for the next few years, I could rinse and repeat this for products 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 6, maybe up to 10. Just depends on the amount of work and effort involved.
And that's the key point there, isn't it? Rinsing and repeating, guys. It's a term that we use. I was speaking to someone today. We're looking into property at the moment. Finding a model that works, right? It works. You know it works. You do it. You make money from it. You rinse, repeat, and scale. And the point is, if you're spending that 4K profit that you've made a month, right? After 2 months, you've got enough capital as another initial investment for 2 more products, which could potentially do the same as what you're doing now, right? So you either, if you were to spend £4,000 profit a month for 2 months, you've blown 8K and you've taken it out into your personal account. Option 2 is reinvest that, do exactly what you've done now, rinse and repeat it, same process, you know how to do it now, and then you've got another stream of income from 2 more. Imagine 3 years of doing that. That's my philosophy on it as well, right on track with what you're saying. And with so looking at the launch in the States, how did you do that? A lot of people ask me if it's easy, if it's hard. I have got students who sell in the States and live in the States, some who sell from the UK, like you, into the States. Talk us through it.
Okay, so the major reason I did it or wanted to do it was by accident, actually. So I was doing my keyword research on my main search term for my product, and it on Cerebro, just Magnet.
Magnet, yeah, Magnet.
On Magnet, I was typing in my keyword just to see the search volume, and by default on Helium 10 it was set to the US marketplace. So when I hit the search, I just saw like a massive search volume for my search term and really, really low competition. And I was like, I then set it to the UK, and it was maybe 6 times less. I think the search volume in the UK was maybe 3,000 to 5,000 a month. In the US, it was like 30,000 searches a month. Again, both had like low or no competition in that area, or none of the results I felt were fulfilling the real search term that what people were looking for, basically. So I was getting my product manufactured at the time, and I kept saying to my wife, first of all, in the US, we're going to sell through more. The search term is there, and it's been there a long while, because you can look at the historical search term. It wasn't just a COVID bump in search volume. It was fairly steady search volume, and all the kits that were there were doing pretty well, or very well. And also, the other thing about the US is you can actually sell. I find you can sell products for more. My product is more expensive. I make more money per item sold in the US than I do in the UK. So in the UK, I charge $15.99 for the same product. In the US, I charge $23.99. If you convert that down, it's like an extra sort of £4 or £5.
It's a lot.
I can charge in the US. So that it's, for me, I really had to make it happen. So from there, I was talking to my supplier, and I was thinking, so I put some inventory aside. In fact, I ordered more inventory to just say, look, let's go for it, and sent that straight into the Amazon FBA in the USA. The technicals behind it, what you have to do, there was a lot of sort of Googling and checking around and making sure I had everything right. But ultimately, I have my Amazon seller account. I had a UK one, so I opened a UK one to start with for is it 25 or 30, £25 a month, is it? £30 a month?
Yeah.
I then opened I then closed that down because I opened a US one, and within that within there you can just say sell internationally and open a UK sort of sister account, and they're linked. And instead of the £30 a month, it's now $44.99, I think it is. But I get both UK and US marketplaces all in one portal. To register in the US, I had to provide all of my limited company information and company, um, uh, yeah, essentially my limited company number and address and
Similar
all
kind
that
of
kind
things
of
to the
thing.
UK. Yeah,
Same thing. There was only one other thing that was essentially I had to sign a document. I believe it said I pay tax on my company is registered in the UK and I pay tax in the UK. So essentially, I don't pay any tax in the US. Um, when I make sales, I pay tax on those sales here in the UK. So I pay the corporation tax here and or any VAT. There'll be no VAT due actually because it's a sale in the US. But it wasn't a laborious process at all. It was fairly straightforward.
good.
Again, I'm 5 weeks in, so I'm hoping I don't get like a phone call from Donald Trump or something saying I owe him a load of money. But
you never know with Donald Trump.
you never know. I'll probably get an alert from the IRS. But
don't quote them on these. No.
Disclaimer. I've not had any.
I'll get that on the screen.
No one's ever told me that I'm doing anything wrong, but no one's ever told me I've done everything perfectly.
Yeah, and they try to make it as straightforward as possible. Like you said, the fact that you can have everything from one portal, and you don't have to have that separate marketplace portal to make things more complicated in the sales tax and things like that. But in terms then of, so you're launched, right? You're 5 weeks in. You're making about 13.5, 14K in sales per month. Where do you see this going moving forward, and what are you going to do now? I mean, it's an exciting process now, right? So where are you looking to be in a year's time from this?
So right now we're focusing on restocking heavily. We've had lots of little restocks, and it was kind of taking a lot of our time and effort. So what we're focusing on now is really ramping up the stock levels and making sure Amazon is pretty rammed, because we know our sell-through is good. We don't believe any of our products are seasonal. And essentially, we're just making sure that we have plenty in stock. So we only really want to be doing a quarterly restock. So we want to get to that level of equity where we've got the money in the business account to just order a really decent, substantial quantity, get it into Amazon to be stocked up for 2-3 months and not have to worry about restocking. Once we've done that, we've got product 4 actually shipped yesterday. So we're waiting for that to come in. I need to do all the ads and the imagery and bits and pieces for that. But this time next year, hopefully product 4 works. I'm a little bit worried about it, but we'll see. Product 5 and 6, hopefully we launch next year as well. And if we can get to a level of a good solid level of stock for 5 or 6 products that are selling through and then refund or funding their own restock levels while being able to take significant profit off of the side, that'd be a really good position to be in, to be building up the coffers essentially. I think we won't touch the business or business account at all until probably once we've finished April 2022. I don't want to touch the business at all until then, and we'll really reevaluate what we have, what we're selling. To me, this is not a get rich quick scheme or anything. It may have started out. It didn't really start out as one, but to me now this is a legitimate business. We're essentially buying and making. We're having something made and we're selling it the same way as every other business does. This to me now is a legitimate brand, a legitimate business that I want to grow. And it's actually really exciting. I've never owned a business before. It's actually really cool. We've got, we have to do like tax returns, and we can put our phones.
They're not fun, I can promise you.
It's exciting,
It is
and
exciting.
on top of that, I work full time, and my wife works part time. So it's just this sort of sideline of money we just have going on. So,
and mate, that's the
where it's going to go.
And that's the crazy thing, right? You are running, and again, we're making an assumption here that your revenue that you're doing now is going to, be consistent. But even if it drops, it's a 6-figure business you're running. Like, you can have, builders, people, not just builders, plumbers, electricians who are successful people who are making 60k turnover a year, 65k. You're doing 650k a year
That's it.
more like that.
That's the thing. It's
nuts.
crazy. You look around at your local businesses. What do you think? Like maybe a corner shop turns over, or
Not that much.
a plumber, and I'm just turning this over with 3 things I came up with
Passively, and that's the crazy thing, right? It's like say you open a shop, right? I don't know what you put into it, like £5,000-10,000 to like to put the money down for the lease and do it up a little bit. I don't know. You might get £200 worth of sales a day through the shop, so that's £1,400 a week. So like £6,000 a month or something. Like, and you're there 8 hours a day, probably 7 days a week, grafting for that, and you're doubling it passively with 3 products all online. And mate, that's one of the things, you know, we, especially now since COVID, there's this shift, guys, and I've been talking about the shift for years to online e-commerce, right? High street shops are phasing out. People want the convenience. You order, it arrives next day. You know, I ordered this from Amazon, right? I ordered it at like 4 p.m. It arrived the next morning. I've got a 30-day refund period on it with a free shipping back to Amazon, instant refund into my account, more or less. I can read 2,000 reviews from what customers are saying. If I wanted to go and buy this same thing, I'd probably spend about 50% more. I'd have to drive down to town, find the shop. There'd be no refund period for it. You know, it's just effort. And especially with COVID, people who are selling on Amazon now are going, and again, COVID is obviously a terrible thing. But looking at it just from the business side of things, more people are shopping online. People don't want to go out to shops. They want to minimize risk to themselves, and they want to order things online. So like Amazon have employed like 100,000 more people. Private label growth has been like 30-40% over this year. They have got tons more prime subscriptions. I'll probably pull up the exact stats. I was looking at them yesterday, but everything is just rocketing. Which is why obviously it's a good time to get stuck in. And one thing then, just before we sort of start to finalise and wrap it up, Mitch, a lot of people will be watching. You know, you mentioned your product, right? You're selling a craft kit for beginners, right? And not a lot of people would tell people that, but you're confident because you've differentiated and it's very unique. You've protected it in that way. You're happy to, and we discussed it and doing it for a reason. What, for someone who's looking to start now, what do you think the fundamental thing you did with your product was to make it the success that it is, that other people can take something from that with their own product that they're launching?
I think my 3 products are quite different in a way, but if I focus on the craft kit for beginners, the fundamental thing is that I would suggest, and I've taken this into product 4 that I've ordered, and I'll always do this. That's my personal preference, and that is to make it difficult to copy in a way that, or put your own twist on it, as in do. It's fairly hard to do with things like Tupperware or things like I don't know, a phone case, but things like where things are bundled together, or you think that would go really well with something else, and you find it from 2 suppliers and you put it together and brand, just something where someone just cannot go to Alibaba and go, oh, there's the same supplier of that flask that's selling really well. I just put my brand on it instead of theirs and charge £1 less. That's just that. It's not sustainable. If you find if you found a niche for a flask or something that was flying off the shelves, people just find your supplier and copy you. Whereas I like to use 2, maybe sometimes 3 suppliers to put things together, assemble them, or get something printed over here and ship it to my supplier to put in the packing, and just make it something unique, just something that no one else is selling, and really put my own. And when I remember hearing people say that at the start, I was thinking that's really difficult, because you're looking at pages and pages of search results and pages of products on Alibaba, and you're thinking, what do I make? How do I? you just got to make a twist to something, or ultimately make someone's life easier. Put something with it that they will. It, for example, if it, in my example, it was this craft kit, a beginner's craft kit. I put the instructions with it. That's all I did, because that just makes someone's life easier. Saying, well, I'll have that and I'll have that, and I can get on with it. I don't need to buy anything else with it. It's all there. So just ultimately people are lazy and they'll order the thing that makes their life simplest. So just if someone needs something with whatever they're buying, put it with it and just sell it to them.
Put yourself in, put yourself in the customer, exactly what you did. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. Order the product, order the main competitor's product, right? Experience it and think to yourself, if I'm putting myself in the customer's shoes, what more would I want? And what would add value to that purchase that I'd be willing to maybe spend a little bit more on, but sometimes you can match the value with the addition, and in which case you're doing even better. Okay, that's really good advice, and something, again, adding value, differentiating. That term is a bit cliche. Everyone just throws it around. It's like, oh, differentiation, blah, blah, blah. It's not just a word, guys. You really got to bloody think about it. You've got to analyze the product, the reviews, the competition, what you are offering, what the customer wants, addressing needs, and really putting yourself into their shoes. So that's fantastic advice.
And I was just going to say, so of my 3 products, 3 of the 4 are basically bundled, just bundling, just adding things together that no one else has added together, and just assembling things and putting things in a box that people want. That they can buy this and they can buy this and they can buy that. It's all in one box. Bundling to me is something I will always focus on.
Bundling's a big one. As long as they're relevant and they complement each other, then bundling is a great way to differentiate. As long as you're not bundling something that's just basically pointless to be included with it and non-relevant, that's when some people will fall at that. See, some people they'll bundle just for the sake of bundling, even though it's not quite the right product to be bundled with. And that's why I suppose the mentorship of the course, I have to intervene sometimes with people and say, it's just not the right thing to be including with that, because it's not going to add value to that purchase. And if you nail it like you have, that's when you get that unique element, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to attract sales and be unique and not easy to copy, right?
Yeah, and just to complement that, I don't do it in an expensive way either. So a 16-page instruction book is my differentiation on my craft kit.
Yeah.
I mean, that costs 15 pence.
Yeah, this is great. But how much value does it add? So much more than 15 pence, right? It adds like pounds of value. So $15.99 is the price. You'd assume as a customer that probably £3 of that, £2.50, £3 of that is the book, right? But really, in reality, it's like 15 times less than that. But you're adding the value to the customer. That's the key.
Yeah. And ultimately, they're buying mine because it comes with a book that tells them what to do. Because the search term is kit for beginners. What does a beginner need? Instructions.
Absolutely, it ties in really well with that. Thanks very much for coming on the channel and giving us your insight into the business. I'm confident it's going to grow. This is just the beginning. It's week 5. I feel great. Always when I chat to people who they put a lot of work in and they're seeing the results, because I put a lot of work into the back end of things and the training, and seeing real people with real results like yourself, and who's kind enough to come on and share those experiences to help other people as well is quite a good thing. So thanks very much, Mitch, for coming on.
No worries. Good luck, everyone.